Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In relation to the 2013 speech I gave at the University of Michigan, I had been invited in an academic setting to speak about legal theory in relation to the concept of homosexuality and what Islam has to say about it. And this was an academic setting. It was a very healthy setting. Everyone listened. I wasn't booed off. It was normal. There were Muslims, non-Muslims, heads of department were there, and so on and so forth. But there were 2 or 3 clauses in that speech which caught a lot of negative attention. I just wanted to clarify these 2 parts because I feel it hasn't been clarified as it should have been. Yes, maybe you chose the wrong words. It's possible, and that may have caused a bit of ambiguity. But the way people had understood the speech, I think it's necessary for me just to explain it so that people have that clear understanding, God willing. One was in relation to the fact that there's a death sentence in Islam pertaining to homosexuality. This death sentence also applies to adulterers, apostates, and other groups. But with all these groups, the death sentence doesn't apply in the absolute sense. And that's one of the major misunderstandings which this speech led to. That as if Islam says, homosexuals, you have to kill them. You have to get rid of them, homosexuals, no matter what. And that's a very major error, and Islam has never said such a thing and does not believe in such a thing. So the question arises, so what's all this death sentence about then? As I say again, this is not only to do with homosexuals, even with heterosexuals and certain other sins. This question of the death sentence may apply. But now we're limiting the discussion to homosexuals. First of all, homosexuals are free, wherever they are, be it in a country where the people gave a mandate for a government to exercise Islamic law, or in a country where the people have not given justification to a government to exercise Islamic law. And in Islam, homosexuality is a sin, but we have to define which aspect of it is a sin. And like all other sins, it's between them and Allah, and they would have to repent, like with adultery and other sins. And we all sin, and we all have to repent. Each sin is different, but all sins are bad. So homosexuals, what they do inside the house, that is up to them, and it's only between them and God. And just if you have information that ex-homosexual is committing whatever act in their own house, there you have no right to cause them any harm. They're free to do what they want, and they haven't disclosed it in the public. Now, if there's a country that has not given that mandate to the government to exercise Islamic law, they haven't granted such a mandate. Here, Islamic law doesn't apply to that country, like in America, Australia, United Kingdom. So the fact that homosexuals are to be killed in such countries is totally alien to Islam. That's one point. And therefore, the recent killing in the Pulse nightclub, yes, according to all Islamic standards, was a gross injustice. It was a barbaric act, a brutal act of terrorism, and there's no way it can be justified. Why? Because it was in a country where the people hadn't even given the mandate, and that person took it in his own hands, took the law in his own hands, and that law was his own law. It wasn't Islamic law that the person practiced. You can't base what he did on Islamic teachings. But let's say now we're in a country which is an Islamic country, where the people have given the government that justification to exercise Islamic law. If now we're dealing in that country now, still homosexuals are free. Yes, they're sinning, in their homes they're sinning, and we can do nothing about it. In the four walls of their residence, we can't do anything. Like with any other sin, if someone drinks alcohol, that's a sin, but they're doing it in private. Adultery, it's in private. The judiciary of an Islamic state has no jurisdiction what they're doing. So even if you have such a knowledge that X person in that address is a homosexual, that doesn't give you any right to go and cause them any harm. They're free, even in an Islamic country. So again, the imaginary edict that they have to be killed, they have to be gotten rid of, that has no Islamic basis again. But I use that clause in that speech. And out of a 1 hour speech, only one or two clauses were brought, so that gave the understanding that wherever you find homosexuals, get rid of them. That was the major misunderstanding here. But I'm still saying there's a death penalty. So the question is, where does this death penalty apply? If it's a non-Islamic country, never. If it's an Islamic country, not always. They're still free. But in an Islamic country, where the government has been given a mandate, the people want Islam as the rule of law. Now, if homosexuals come and exercise that act, which deems this a major sin, and that is anal copulation, if they do it in public, in front of people, should they be killed? The answer is still no. The answer is still no. Why? Here, what they did is still a sin. But can they be killed by normal people? No. Can they be killed by the orders of the judiciary? Can they be executed? The answer is no. Unless those who viewed the act, who saw it, and we believe whoever sees such an act, it desensitizes their chastity. And that's why, as a deterrent for the souls of an Islamic country, Islamic law has to protect that, the chastity of people. Because a desensitized chastity leads to a wide array of sins, and a society can't be healthy when chastity becomes compromised. But if those viewers, those who saw the act, were witness to the act, were they to go to the judiciary and complain? Only now, look, there were 5 or 6 conditions here from the beginning. If all these conditions are met, and then these witnesses go to the judiciary, now the judiciary has the duty to exercise Islamic law, which here is the death penalty. Only here. This is our belief. It's the belief of all Muslim scholars. If a government of a country wants to deny access to their country because of a doctrinal article of faith which is never applicable in that country, and they want to deny access, that's doctrinal dictatorship. And that they will never succeed. They will never lead to the flourishing and success of their own people, because freedom of thought isn't allowed there. Because this article of faith will never apply in that country. What are they scared about? This is an article of belief. And when a country becomes so sensitive that they don't even want this belief and people with this belief to come, even if those people don't even speak about it, but they've spoken about it before, this shows a gross instability in that government. And that's a weakness. And doctrinal dictatorship is worse than dictatorship, physical dictatorship. It's much worse, and the consequences will be much worse for that country. And it's all in their hands. So this is part of our belief, and that's what I meant when I said we shouldn't be embarrassed about it. This is our belief. Now, I spoke about this legal theory of homosexuality at a university in an academic setting. Why did this suddenly become a big issue after 3 years? You see? Otherwise, there was no inciting of hatred. I never even gave a personal opinion. I gave what Islam is saying. There was no inciting towards hatred. There was no inciting towards violence. These don't even apply to those non-Islamic countries. This is people, a group at the university invited me to speak about this. There was ignorance. They wanted this ignorance to be sorted. Now, yes, people may be uncomfortable. That's their right. Of course, I won't be offended. If people don't accept parts of Islamic belief, that's okay. If they say it's abhorrent to them, it's okay for me. I don't want to force my beliefs upon anyone. They also have a long list of beliefs which may be abhorrent to me. But that's okay. I still socialize with them. I still converse with them. I was personally born and bred in the United Kingdom. I have fellow neighbors there, everyone, we're friends, we socialize. They have customs, they may have sets of beliefs. Does that bar me from even speaking with them? Of course not. This is a doctrinal issue, not a legislative issue that we want to, an executive issue that we want to execute in any society. Even in an Islamic society with all those restrictions, all those stipulations, I've never heard of such a case. The second issue was in relation to the phrase that this has to be done out of compassion. This was also abused and misunderstood, as if we have to kill them in the absolute sense, irrespective of time, place, and then we do it out of compassion. That totally goes against what I was speaking about, and those who would listen to the 1 hour speech would never have come to such a conclusion. And they say that I'm inciting towards hatred. But what about those people who look at the 1 hour lecture, only choose 2 10-second clips, which are totally out of context, and spread it throughout the world? Are they inciting hatred or me? I gave a 1 hour speech. That was what they wanted from me. Who gave you the justification to just choose 2 10 seconds? Who gave you the right to do it out of context? Out of compassion, what did that mean? Well, I've explained the first part. Then this judiciary, when they want to execute the sentence after all those stipulations, assuming it actually actualizes, now the judiciary has to execute the ruling. The question now is that this judiciary, what is their mental framework when they want to execute it? It's one of two. The executor says to oneself, this dirty scoundrel, intrinsically evil person, this X, this Y, this Z, let's get rid of him. That's one approach. The second approach is the judiciary says, oh God, oh Allah, he's your creature. He sinned. And we're exercising this ruling because of you, because what you want is for them to sin less after having passed a certain threshold, which was doing it in public in a certain way. Now you want them to sin less. They're your creature. You want them to sin less. You're looking after their best interests. And then by executing this ruling, they won't be held accountable because now they've paid for their action in this world. And this is in their best interest in the hereafter. Islam believes in a hereafter. This is important. We believe in a realm which is not physical, metaphysical. Like the realm of our sleep. There's nothing physical in our sleep. Even if you were to say, well, sleep is just a number of chemical brain reactions. Well, chemical reactions are all physical. But sleep, there's nothing physical about it. Yes, we do it through our brains, but it's not physical. We believe in a metaphysical realm. When we believe in a hereafter, the rulings of Islam is to make us acquire salvation in this world and in the hereafter. A worldview which limits the human being to 80, 90, 100 years of the solely physical realm and are oblivious and even deny a metaphysical realm, that's a limited worldview. It's not an Islamic worldview. This is what is meant. The second approach of the judiciary is important. Not the first, that you want to punish for the sake of punishing. You're punishing for the sake of compassion, for the best interest of that person. They may not appreciate what their best interests are. Like a child that needs an injection right now. The doctor has to show what looks like violence, but it's not violence. The doctor's injecting. The needle may be a large needle. The doctor is injecting. It may cause pain, but the doctor is saying it's for your own best interests. I'm seeing something in the future, it's for your best interests. Bear with me. But the child may not understand. So there, do it out of compassion means don't do it with the first mental framework. Because if you do that, you won't grow as a human being. You will only grow when you care for the victim. You care for the person who is to be executed. Our scholars, when they wanted to pray, the likes of Sayyid ibn Tawus, he said, I deliberated. To whom should I pray? I kept on thinking, group after group. I came to the conclusion, I want to pray for the non-believers, the polytheists. These people need prayer most. I want to pray for them. That's our approach. And these were the two major points which I wanted to clarify most. There were other issues too, but these were of most priority.